shadows of biblical history, an epic battle unfolds silently. Satan's struggle for Moses' body. What secrets and powers did that corpse hold? How could the fate of the world have changed if it had fallen into the wrong hands? Delve into this dark and revealing mystery. The death of Moses is shrouded in deep mystery that has captured the imagination of theologians and scholars for centuries, according to Deuteronomy chapter 34, verses 5 and 6. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor, but no one knows his grave to this day. The absence of a known burial place has fueled much speculation. The Bible does not provide us with details on where Moses was buried, and this absence has led to various theories. Some believe this silence is intentional, indicating that Moses' body holds a deeper significance. In Jewish tradition, it is suggested that Moses' body was hidden to prevent it from being worshipped or used in idolatrous cults. This idea is supported by the interpretation that the lack of a tomb is a way to maintain the purity of Moses' spiritual legacy. On the other hand, extra-biblical traditions have also created narratives around this mystery. Apocryphal texts and Jewish legends claim that Moses' body was hidden by God himself to prevent it from falling into the hands of enemies. This narrative suggests that Moses' body may have possessed power or importance beyond its physical value. If we consider the possibility that Moses' body had hidden power, it becomes evident why Satan would want to dispute it. The Bible shows us in Jude chapter 1 verse 9 that the Archangel Michael, when contending with the devil in a dispute over the body of Moses, did not dare to pronounce a curse of judgment against him, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." The dispute over Moses' body between Michael and Satan indicates that Satan himself perceived a unique value in it. This mystery invites reflection on the hidden power that may reside in objects or people who appear ordinary at first glance. The search for a deeper meaning behind apparent simplicity can reveal valuable lessons about faith and spiritual power. It reminds us that what seems trivial can have a monumental impact on the spiritual world and humanity. The hidden power that may have resided in Moses' body is a fascinating topic deeply rooted in the scriptures. Exodus chapter 34, verses 29 to 35, narrates a significant event, revealing the exceptional nature of Moses' contact with the divine. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands, he did not know that his face shone after he had spoken with God. This glow not only symbolized God's presence in Moses, but also indicated a tangible spiritual power. When Moses spent time in God's presence, his face shone with a celestial light, a phenomenon that evidenced the direct influence of divinity upon him. This glow was so intense that Moses had to cover his face with a veil when speaking to the people. Exodus chapter 34, verse 33. The radiant manifestation of God's glory on his face suggests that Moses' body was imbued with a very special spiritual energy, a resonance that went beyond the physical. If we consider that Moses' body might have retained some of this glory and power, it opens up a disturbing panorama. Satan, knowing the magnitude of this influence, would be motivated to obtain the body to divert or corrupt that power for his own ends. The possibility that Moses' body retained a fragment of God's glory implies that if it fell into Satan's hands, it could be used to manipulate and pervert the perception of the divine, discouraging faith and fostering darkness. This scenario poses a profound warning. Spiritual power, when corrupted, can have devastating consequences. The influence of the sacred can be distorted and used to deceive people into wrong paths. The story of Moses teaches us that closeness to the divine comes with great responsibility, and that spiritual power must be handled with care and respect to prevent its misuse and cause incalculable harm to humanity. The confrontation between the Archangel Michael and Satan over Moses' body is a scene filled with drama and profound spiritual meaning. This episode is mentioned in the Epistle of Jude, chapter 1, verse 9, which states, "But the Archangel Michael, when contending with the devil and disputing over the body of Moses, did not dare to pronounce a curse of judgment against him, but said, 'The Lord rebuke you.'" This celestial dispute reveals an intensity and background that go far beyond what seems at first glance. The battle between Michael and Satan is not just a fight over a corpse. It is a manifestation of a larger spiritual struggle that unfolds throughout human history. The mention of Michael, the leader of the heavenly armies, facing Satan, the eternal adversary, highlights the seriousness of the contest. The fact that Michael does not pronounce a direct judgment against Satan, but instead invokes God's authority, underscores the gravity and complexity of the conflict. In the biblical context, this dispute over Moses' body symbolizes a battle for the spiritual control of humanity. Moses, as the leader of the people of Israel and mediator of divine law, represents a crucial link between the celestial and the terrestrial. Moses' body, therefore, is not just a physical vessel but carries with it a significant spiritual burden. Satan's desire to seize it reveals his intention to use that power and authority to lead humanity away from God's path. The battle between Michael and Satan can be seen as a metaphor for the eternal struggle between good and evil. If Satan had succeeded in obtaining Moses' body, he could have manipulated that divine connection for his own dark purposes, corrupting God's testimony and distorting the truth that Moses had represented. This attempt to control Moses' body highlights Satan's desperation to exert influence and his recognition of the spiritual impact that Moses had. The celestial drama behind this contest reflects the constant tension in the spiritual realm and in the life of every individual. It reminds us that spiritual battles are real and have profound implications for our lives and faith. The struggle over Moses' body is not only a historical conflict, but an ongoing representation of the battle for control of our souls and the preservation of divine truth. Vigilance and firm faith are essential to resist the forces that seek to lead us astray and keep us in the light of truth. The speculation about the powers Satan might have obtained with Moses' body opens up a range of disturbing possibilities. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7, the Apostle Paul writes, "But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellence of the power may be of God and not of us." This metaphor of the treasure in earthen vessels suggests that spiritual power, when manifested through human beings, has a considerable impact, even if the vessel is fragile. If we apply this idea to Moses' body, it is plausible to imagine that such a vessel could have contained transcendental power. Consider that Moses' body, having witnessed divine glory, might have carried a unique spiritual resonance. If Satan had obtained this body, he could have exploited that power for dark purposes. One possibility is that Satan would have used the body to manipulate human will. With power so closely linked to God's presence, Satan might have sought to distort the perception of divinity, corrupting people's understanding and faith. Another disturbing possibility is that Satan could have invoked dark forces from this power. Since Moses had a direct connection with the divine, his body could have served as a channel to release or amplify evil energies. This could have led to the creation of dark cults or practices of black magic that exploited the residual spiritual energy in the body. The influence of such practices could have destabilized the world's spiritual and moral order, leading to an era of chaos and despair. Furthermore, Satan could have used Moses' body to sow discord and division among nations and religions. The presence of such a treasure in the hands of the forces of evil could have generated a constant struggle for control and dominance, fracturing unity and fostering global conflict. The idea that Moses' body could have such capabilities illustrates the magnitude of the risk it posed to the spiritual balance of the world. This potential scenario not only reveals the ambition and danger associated with spiritual power, but also highlights the importance of protecting and valuing divine truths. The story of Moses warns us about the fragility of the balance between good and evil and the need for constant vigilance to preserve spiritual integrity in a world full of temptations and challenges. The potential loss of Moses' body would have significantly impacted God's credibility and his people's faith, triggering a crisis of faith of colossal dimensions. Moses was not only the leader who had led Israel out of slavery in Egypt, but also the mediator through whom God's law had been revealed. According to Hebrews chapter 11, verses 23 to 29, an integral view of Moses' crucial role in salvation history is offered. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hidden by his parents for 3 months, because they saw he was a beautiful child, and they were not afraid of the king's edict. The faith of Moses' parents in his protection already shows the intrinsic value of his life and mission. Later, Moses himself is described as someone who, by faith, forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 27. His life and mission were marked by continuous contact with God, which validated the authenticity of his actions and messages. The loss of his body could have threatened to undermine this validity, as Moses' body was a physical testimony of direct interaction with the divine. The potential that Moses' body fell into Satan's hands would have implied a direct attack on Israel's faith. Moses' tangible presence, symbolized by his body, represented a vital link with God. If that link had been compromised or corrupted, it could have led to a profound crisis of faith. Doubt and despair would have spread among the people of Israel, who might have questioned the authenticity of their deliverance and God's promises. Additionally, the loss of this physical testimony would have undermined confidence in the divine revelations that Moses delivered. The evidence of his authenticity, which included not only his teachings but also his direct connection with God, could have been distorted. In a scenario where Moses' body, as a symbol of the law and divine guidance, had been manipulated by Satan, the people could have faced a wave of confusion and despair. The lesson here is profound. The physical presence of signs and symbols of the divine is crucial to faith. The integrity of these elements ensures that faith remains strong and is not shaken by the forces of evil. The story of Moses reminds us of the importance of protecting the witnesses of the sacred and keeping our faith firmly anchored in the revealed truth. If Satan had succeeded in gaining control of Moses' body, the consequences for humanity could have been catastrophic. The Bible gives us a glimpse of Satan's power and influence in Revelation chapter 12, verses 7 to 9. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. And the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. This passage describes Satan's fall from heaven and his relegation to earth, where he continues his mission to deceive and destroy. If Satan had had access to Moses' body, which was imbued with divine glory and spiritual power, the magnitude of his influence on earth could have reached unprecedented levels of corruption and despair. Imagine a dystopian scenario in which Moses' body is used by Satan to manipulate humanity. The spiritual energy and power that once emanated from Moses' radiant face could have become a tool of mass deception. Control over Moses' body could have allowed Satan to create an illusion of divinity or supreme power, deceiving the masses and leading them away from true worship and faith in God. This corrupt power could have led the world into an era of chaos and darkness. Humanity, deceived by a false representation of the sacred, could have fallen into despair and confusion, losing their moral and spiritual way. The authentic teachings about love, justice and mercy could have been distorted or completely eradicated, giving rise to an era of rampant evil. The impact of such a deep corruption would be devastating. Ethics and morality could be replaced by absolute disorder, where selfishness and evil prevailed. The balance of the world, sustained by divine principles, could have crumbled, plunging humanity into an unprecedented crisis. This extreme scenario reminds us of the importance of remaining faithful to divine principles and spiritual truth. The possibility of such a vast and destructive distortion of good and evil underscores the need for spiritual vigilance and discernment. The story of Moses and the struggle for his body teaches us that power and influence must be handled with great responsibility to prevent evil from prevailing and humanity from suffering irreparable consequences. Despite the dark danger posed by Satan's possible acquisition of Moses' body, the divine intervention in the biblical narrative reveals a rescue plan that ensures the restoration of spiritual balance and justice. The Apostle Paul, in Romans chapter 16, verse 20, assures us, "And the God of peace will crush Satan under your feet shortly. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you." This verse reflects confidence in God's ultimate victory over the forces of evil, affirming that Satan's power is temporary and limited in the face of divine authority. The struggle for Moses' body is not just a physical conflict, but a manifestation of a larger spiritual battle unfolding in the heavenly realm. The divine intervention to protect Moses' body and ensure it did not fall into the wrong hands can be seen as part of the divine plan to preserve the balance between good and evil. The Bible teaches us that God, in his infinite wisdom, can foresee and prevent disasters that could arise from malignant influence. The protection of Moses' body is a testament to his commitment to maintaining justice and power in their place. God, knowing the potentially catastrophic consequences that the corruption of such significant power would have had, ensured that Satan did not have access to what he could have used to manipulate and corrupt humanity. This divine protection underscores the idea that despite the attempts of the forces of evil to alter the spiritual balance, God is always present to restore order and maintain the integrity of his plan. The Bible teaches us that the power of dark forces is subordinate to God's power. In Revelation chapter 12, verses 7 to 9, the defeat of Satan and his angels in heaven is described, and war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. This heavenly victory confirms the premise that divine justice prevails and that spiritual balance will always be restored by God's action. How do you see divine protection in situations of crisis and conflict in your own life? How does it affect you to know that God's power surpasses the threats of evil? Subscribe now to explore more about how divine intervention can change the course of events in our lives and the world.